Welcome to 2Cents FC. I'm your host, Amobi Okugo, back again with my guy, L. Each week, we'll be talking with individuals from around the soccer world, learning about their stories and getting their unfiltered thoughts and opinions. This week, we're joined by host and founder of She Knows Arsenal, Jessica Black. We'll be learning all about Jessica's journey as a Black woman in soccer media, her love for Arsenal, her Blue Wire deal, and more. Jessica, how you doing today?
I'm good. I can't complain. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to it.
Nah, thank you so much for taking the time. I saw, L, when L, got you to agree on the podcast, I contemplated not even coming on because I know him being an Arsenal fan and I know you having an Arsenal podcast. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I just got to get that off my chest right now.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, so just had to say that. But appreciate you coming on. And I know we start off with two truths and a cap. So, L, what you got?
Yeah, so two truths in the cap. Jessica, you'll tell us 3 facts about yourself. 2 will be true, 1 will be a lie. Amobi and I have to guess what the lie is. As Amobi said offline, he's down bad right now. So
I'm down like Inter Miami. I'm down bad.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready.
Hold on. Oh my gosh, this is so much pressure. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay. So I'm 5'7". My favorite player is Robert Pires, and I've been to 5 Arsenal games in my life.
So when you say games, do you mean like when they came to the States or overseas?
Nah, bro.
Just games.
I'm trying. I need to come back, so I'm trying to get any hints I can.
Nah, no problem. I don't know how long she's been an Arsenal fan yet, so we'll get to that question later. So I can't use that one.
I mean, she says She Knows Arsenal is the name of her show, so I think it's at least you since youth days. So it's like 5'7". That's like such an average height. Like, all right, I'm 5'7". It's like a guy saying like, yeah, I'm 5'10". I'm going with that's the lie.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the height too.
Yeah, the height's the lie.
Well, I am 5'7", so you got that wrong. 5'7". My favorite player is Robert Pires. So basically the lie was I've been to 5 Arsenal games. So.
Yeah.
How many have you been to?
2.
2. Okay.
I've only been to 2. I mean, it's hard to get to them. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'd like to go to more. But yeah, I've only been to 2 in my life. Like, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Florida tour is canceled. So.
Yeah, I was definitely looking forward to that. But I feel like it might be a blessing in disguise. Like, everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Their COVID cases are out of control, So I was just thinking to myself, like, how will I make sure I don't get COVID? Like, and I'm like, if I'm thinking that, it's probably not. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, respect. So let's get right into it. Jessica, so when did you fall in love with soccer?
Oh, I used to play, so that's where it kind of started. Let me see. I may have a thingy right here. Let me see. Can you guys see that?
Okay, throwback. Yep. Right? You was right-footed. Is that San Diego Surf Cup polo fields?
Yeah.
Turn it up. Okay. What team did you play for?
Arsenal. So that was the club team that I played for.
Okay.
So, but I started playing when I was like 6. And so I went through like AYSO and stuff. And then I started to play club when I was like 12, maybe, like somewhere around there. And so I was actually kind of like a late bloomer because like a lot of girls had started playing club when they were like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But I kind of skipped a couple levels and I did quite good. So that's where I started to love soccer. But then like kind of my love for actually watching the game came more from just wanting to learn more about the game. At that time, it was like almost only US women and MLS, and then like some the Mexican league you could find. And then so I wanted to see something else. Like I knew that there's something else out there, and I found an Arsenal game. And then from there, it was like, I just love to watch. Like, you know what I mean? I know you guys are probably asked me about the Arsenal aspect in particular, but yeah, playing and then just wanting to learn more about the game.
Okay, respect. So because you're from SoCal, so I got to ask real quick. San Diego Surf Cup or Nomads Cup? Which one did you have more fun? Which one was better?
That's so long ago. Oh gosh. I mean, probably Surf Cup, just because I know I went multiple times and the polo fields were nice, and going to San Diego was always like, we always did a lot. So I don't know.
Okay.
Probably that one.
And
that's the
then-
one I can mostly like remember. You guys remember,
Yeah.
like, that's so long ago. You guys are testing my memory here as well.
I'm not trying to age you or anything. I'm just, asking because being from California, these were some big tournaments. And then our biggest rivalry from a youth sports perspective, like, because you play for Arsenal, like great club, great youth club. But I know the Irvine Strikers was good. Was it the Slammers FC? They were really good.
I mean, they weren't really a rival to us because they were so the Slammers team that I played against had Kristen Press on it. So, I mean, they weren't really our rivals because they were better than us. Like, I can say that, like, they were better than us. But there was 2 Arsenal teams in the club in our age group. So they were actually our natural rivals because those girls actually lived like in the same area. I didn't actually live in Rancho. I lived somewhere else. So, but they were on the same high school teams. And so there was more of a rivalry there. So I would say just the other Arsenal team that was in our age bracket was our rivals at the time.
Okay, perfect. And last question before we get into this, how you became an Arsenal fan, because I'm still perplexed. Best area in the States in terms of youth development for the women's game. SoCal, I know North Carolina get a lot of love. NorCal gets a lot of love. Texas, where are you ranking everyone? Unbiased or biased opinion?
Well, I mean, when I was coming through, it was Southern California, like bar none. Like it just was, like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, when I was coming through, I mean, well, Alex Morgan grew up down the street. Like, you know what I mean? So like that was like the level. I mean, but I would say now it's a little bit hard for me to gauge because I feel like it's more spread out. Like more people have a chance, and the development of the women's game is more spread out. But I would say probably, I think Texas is quite good. I think Georgia is good as well. You know, they have good clubs like Top Hat. I know for sure is like a big club out there. But I still think Southern California has a good pool of players. But yeah, I would say it's more spread out. But let's just say Southern California just because I'm here.
Okay, respect. That's a good answer. That's a safe answer, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like, crap on anybody or anything. I just feel like Southern California has the best players,
Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna go NorCal. We a hidden gem when it comes to the women talent. But yeah, let's get into it because I got to figure out. All right, how did you become an Arsenal fan? You said you watched one game, and that's kind of what did it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, back in the day, it was like, when you would be able to catch a game, you'd only be able to catch like the best teams that were playing. Like, you know what I mean? So back then, if you caught an EPL game here, it would probably be Manchester United or Arsenal. So the first game that I actually saw was Manchester United game. And Andy Cole and Dwight York were on the team. Roy Keane, like it was that group. And so I actually liked them. I was like, oh, this is a cool team. I like them. Then the next weekend caught an Arsenal game. And then I was sold. Like for somebody that's always been the only Black person in their class, only Black person on their team, like to see a team full of Black players was so influential for me. And so I just fell in love, like from there on Vieira, Gilberto, Ashley Cole, Bergkamp, Will Tord, that whole team was immense, so that's pretty much where it came from. But I have to be real, like no other girls like watched soccer, none. Like it was just me. I was like this weirdo. And like till now, I still feel like a weirdo. Like I have like this secret life where I'm like watching games and on this podcast and stuff. And like, nobody cares in my life. Like nobody cares, like, so, but that's where it pretty much came from, was just finding a team that I could identify with, and I stuck with it ever since.
No, that's a great story of representation because when you think of Arsenal, unbiased, I'm a Chelsea fan, but when you think of Arsenal, everyone like when they say like they're Arsenal fans because of that representation, at least from a black perspective, or they say Arsenal's Africa's team. So talk about that from the standpoint that you said growing up, you're the only black girl in school, only the black girl on your team, and then now watching games, you didn't really have anyone to watch it with. So how did you feel like you were able to connect through, being able to see people that look like you on the soccer field?
Well, I mean, I think because in America, like the main sports that Black people play are like basketball and football. So, and then you have even less, like women aren't really involved in sports like that. Like a lot of girls just stop playing sports after like 12, 13, like they just stop, So being a Black woman, and then the only Black people that I know play basketball and American football, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just out here on an island by myself. But one thing that I had that I thank my parents for, like to this day, is us traveling when I was younger, because I had the experience of Arsenal and seeing Arsenal like on the screen, but I had the opportunity to like go to London, to go to Paris, to go to places where Black people did other things. They had other interests that I had as well. And so seeing Black people that were interested in soccer was so good for me. And even though they weren't my friends, I didn't feel as weird. But I can't even lie, like it just, when you come back to America, I did feel alienated just a little bit, but at the same time, it was just something that I kind of dealt with. Because I mean, to be honest, soccer is my main thing. Like it's what I really love. So I just kind of dealt with it. But knowing that there were people like me that loved the sport and people like me that played it, made it feel a little bit more like, okay, I may be out here on my own, like in America, but there's somebody out there that understands how I feel about the sport, if that kind of makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. So if I'm hearing this correctly, so you went to London, I mean, obviously like for family vacation. Did you end up catching a game? And like, what was your first Arsenal game that you went to?
Well, so when we were going to London and stuff, like we never really got to catch a game. I
Uh-huh.
did get to like do a tour, of Highbury and stuff, like, so it was that, but I never really got to see a game. The first game that I went to was Arsenal versus Brighton. Unai Emery was still in charge at the time. So, and that was only a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
so it wasn't until I got older where I actually got to experience a game. But, when you're walking like in London, you see like the flags and Arsenal and it's everywhere. And then you see like the other teams too are represented. And then you go to Barcelona and you see all the stuff from, their team. And so it just felt more tangible when I was in Europe, and it made
Yeah.
me feel like more like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like other people care about this, not just me.
No, respect. So it was just a coincidence that your club team was named Arsenal. It wasn't like, oh, Arsenal, I'm going to try out for
No, it
Arsenal.
was just a coincidence. I played for quite a few teams. Some
Okay.
of them didn't have anything to do with it, but just the last team that I played on before I went to college was Arsenal,
Okay. And you brought up a great point about, women, around 13 to 15 years old, they tend to stop playing. I want to ask you because there's been a lot of, different people trying to figure out why that is. I know there's an organization one of our previous guests talked about, Sarah, shout out to Sarah. Um, what would be your answer in terms of helping keep women in the sport, past, 15, or sorry,
Hmm.
solution?
It's a tough one because I feel like girls feel maybe pressure to be more, I don't know if I want to get like that deep, but it feels like you almost have to be more feminine or acceptable to the opposite sex. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
that girls start to want to wear makeup. They start to want to be more have boyfriends and have that kind of social aspect to their lives. And I don't think that that necessarily is in alignment with being a high performing athlete. You don't really see that. Girls that play sports up to a certain level, it's your job. Maybe it's not as attractive to men to be somebody that is so invested in your sport. So I think your priorities change because you want to fit in. So you kind of give that up, you know, and I think your family and your friends allow you to, because, you know, society is like, women are supposed to be doing this, and it's okay for men to be really involved in sports. But I don't really see, I mean, now there's a lot more representation of women going or being high performance athletes and spending more time and being more involved in their sport. But I think even like back then, it was just more like, it's fine for you to give that up now. Like now it's more about prom. And I remember being on club teams and girls missing games because they were going to prom. You know what I mean? It was like that. And I never missed any games to go to prom, but I just think your priorities change. And then you start to think like, do I want to do that in college? Because in college, it's more of a job, like, you know, so I think for women, your priorities start to change and it becomes almost less acceptable to be so invested in sports because it's not feminine and it's not what women do.
No, that's great insight, and appreciate you sharing. And like you alluded to, it's deeper than just like surface level. So
yeah, I'm like, I don't want, you know, people to be like, oh, it's like, it's this, it is kind of like a big thing. Cause I just feel like there's such good pathways. And one thing, being on a team and playing sports in general gives you stability. It gives you responsibility. I think it makes you a better person. If you play in a team sport, you learn how to deal with different people and be a good friend and to lead and be a leader and stuff like that. And it gives you even a pathway to like scholarships and things for school that maybe you don't have an opportunity to have in other ways. So I do think we should push girls to be more interested in sports if that's what they really want, and allow them to let that blossom and not place like social pressures on them to give it up because women are supposed to be a certain way. You know, I think that would help, you know?
No, that's great insight. And I love how you shared, you know, how sports helped you. So like taking it back a little bit, like give us your origin story. I know offline you talked about you lived in Atlanta, you're from SoCal, you went to Georgia State. Give us like the rundown to like how you got to where you are now. You got a wonderful podcast, you got an amazing platform, but there's some context behind that we'd love to know.
Oh man, it's a bumpy road. I didn't know we were going to go into all of this. So I'm a pretty open book. Like I don't claim to be like, I'm the type of person that I'm open, because if anybody feels like they have to have a straight path to where they want to be, I'm the example of that not having, that's not true. You don't have to be that, right? You know? So, I mean, played growing up, but when I got to the point where I wanted to go to college, I actually wanted to quit, you know, because I love the sport still, but I wanted to have a different experience. Like I really wanted to go to an HBCU. I wanted to go to Howard. That's what I really wanted. I wanted to have just a different experience of doing something outside, because I have other interests as well. Even though soccer was the main thing, I just kind of feel like leave on a high, you know, and just try to do something else, just pivot. But my dad was kind of like, well, why do we pay for you to do all this club soccer if you're not going to play in college? So I was like, well, maybe I can have both experiences. Let's see what I can do. And most of the programs for HBCUs weren't really able to give you a scholarship. And that's really what I wanted. If I'm going to play soccer in college, I want a scholarship. So I ended up choosing Georgia State because really I wanted to be around Black people. I've grown up my whole entire life. Like, again, it was just me, the only Black person in the class, only Black person around. So I wanted to be like in and around people that look like me. So chose Georgia State, right in the heart of downtown Atlanta. Like for an non-HBCU to have like almost like 30%, 40% Black, you know, African Americans like in the school, like that's a lot, you know. So that's a lot.
HBCU without being an HBCU.
Yeah, that's a lot, you know. So I chose that, and then they gave me a scholarship, and but I have to be honest, it wasn't a good experience. Like it really wasn't. It was, I would say at that point, I don't think it was as serious of a program as I feel like it should have been. And there were a lot of factors, like in terms of professional, like I just didn't think the environment was great. It wasn't really about winning. It was popularity and politics and a lot of things that I didn't really want to be a part of my experience. And I actually ended up, you know, without getting too deep into it, I only played for 3 years. Like I only played for 3 years, and I ended up being like a non-athlete in my senior year. And I think at the time it hurt because it wasn't of my own my own, basically I got kicked off the team. And it was for a good reason. I can't really go into it. It was because I stood up for myself. But I lost my scholarship, and at first it kind of hurt, but at the same time I got to explore other things. And that's when I started to explore fashion, and my love for fashion and fashion shows in particular kind of came out, and I was able to explore that a little bit. Came back to California and went to fashion school. And so I've always been a creative. I was never a bookworm. I always kind of got B's and C's. Like I never was like an A student or anything like that, because I was a creative person. In all creative classes, I always got A's. And so flew through fashion school, did some, window design. I did some fashion show production. I worked in retail. So I'm still in the point in my life where I'm trying to figure out what I want to be doing. And I never really settled on something because something felt like it was missing. I couldn't really figure out what it was. But I knew from the moment I finished fashion school that I didn't want to work for anybody. I knew I wanted to have my own business, do something creative, have an outlet, something. But in the meantime, I needed to make money. You know what I mean? I could just be sitting on my butt, So I actually ended up applying to be a flight attendant because I was thinking, okay, this might be a good in-betweener job while I figure out what I want to be doing. And I was a flight attendant for 5 years. So, I was flight attendant in Atlanta, flight attendant in New York, flight attendant in LA. So I did that. And while I did that, I was a web designer. I did branding, but still I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And it was driving me crazy because, when you're in your late 20s and you still don't really know what you want to be doing, people start asking you questions, you start to feel pressure. But I just knew something wasn't right. And then fast forward a little bit more, I'm doing some web design. I'm doing bits and bobs here and there. And the pandemic hits. And I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to figure out the whole soccer thing? I'm not watching. I'm desperate. And at that time I was like, I really love watching. And then so I started seeing AFTV, and different podcasts, and just exploring that a little bit. And I was like, well, maybe I can do something like that on the side. Let me just kind of see what's going on. So I got on Twitter. I started putting my opinions out there. I started getting a little bit of a following. People started asking me to be on their podcast. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just start my own, just for fun to see. And it exploded. I'd never thought She Knows Arsenal would be where it is now. And I think I've been doing it seriously for about 3 months, so in the midst of me kind of trying to figure out what I want to be doing, still being unsatisfied with doing bits and bobs and doing some things that feel okay, but not exactly what I want to be doing. It was the soccer piece was missing the whole time. I just needed to get back to that. But now I was able to add soccer with my creativity. And that was the perfect mix for me. But it took me until my early 30s to figure that out. I'm 32 now, so I just listened to myself. But I'm not going to lie, it's been very difficult trying to figure it out. Because, when people find out you're 32 and you're just not figuring out what you want to do, they're like, you must have did something wrong. But ultimately, I could have settled on a job. I could have stayed a flight attendant for ever, or I could have just continued being a web designer forever, but now I'm kind of doing what I want to be doing, and I'm able to make money doing it as well. And I'm getting other opportunities to work with LAFC and stuff. So it's been a tough road. I'm not going to lie, because it's been confusing, but at the same time, I have my creativity and my soccer, and it's meshed together for the perfect career for me, and it took a while, but if you're somebody that's wow, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, just go with your gut and don't settle, because I don't believe in settling either. This is the best possible thing that could have happened for me. I know it's a long story, but yeah.
It may be long, but it's really important.
That's real talk, though.
That's real
I
talk.
feel like that's a lot of people's journeys. Me personally, like you, I'm a creative as well. Branding. I work in UX, but I didn't really figure out my path and trajectory until maybe a few years ago, and I'm gonna be 37 this year. So
yeah.
Everybody's path kind of goes at its own pace, but once you hit that stride and being older, you kind of have a different level of focus, so it allows you to kind of hit the ground a little harder, and you tend to seek success a little sooner. Like you mentioned, your show blew up. I want to know what you did to like help your show blow up. I'm interested in that as well.
Yeah, well, the main thing is starting. You know, there's a lot of people that talk about wanting to start podcasts and wanting to have their own football show, soccer show, whatever. I would just say stop talking about it and just start doing it. You know, the best possible thing you can do is get your face out there. And yeah, it's going to suck at first. It is. It's going to be, you're going to cringe when you watch yourself. You're going to be like, wow, is this what I really sound like? But the reality is once you start, then you can get, you know, you can troubleshoot and see what works and what doesn't work. And for me, just being consistent was really important in the beginning. I did shows, I think for the last, it's like shows almost every single day, you know, and for YouTube, I do live shows. So that's also important. But consistency can mean every Monday, all the time, you know, just making sure you're the people that are watching know you're going to be there at a certain time and a certain day. And also connecting with the right people. I've had help, you know, and I may not say it all the time and I may not shout it, you know, from the rooftops or post it on Twitter all the time, but I'm in constant contact with the people that have helped me from the very beginning. In particular, like Elliott Smith from the Arsenal Vision podcast, you know, Sophie Nicolau from Highbury Squad, Harry Simiu from Chronicles of a Gooner. These people have all like helped me out like exponentially in my thing. So I would say connecting with people has really helped, being consistent, being yourself, like don't copy other people or try to sound like anybody else, and know what you're talking about and be passionate. Like if you care about your football team, you're probably already passionate. So let that show through what you're doing, and be mindful that it's going to take time. My show, I think because I'm a Black woman, you know, talking about something that most women aren't really in that space has given me a leg up. You know, that's why people watch me, is because I'm different, but it's still going to take you a while. You know, it's still going to take time and effort and work, you know. So I would just say those are things that really help me out. And then just even investing in your podcast, getting, you know, better mics, better whatever you need to do, better graphics, you know, and just spend time on it, care about it, give it a little TLC. But yeah, those are things that really help me out, you know, and it's been working, you know. Some of the stuff that's happened in the last couple of months, I could have never imagined, you know, but I wake up every day and I'm like, I know exactly what I would want to be doing and I'm good at it, you know, and I'm willing to get better, you know, and that's all I've ever really wanted in life.
That's amazing.
For sure. And if you guys haven't listened to her podcast, she's hella knowledgeable. She knows what she's talking about. Like, I used to watch AFTV pretty religiously, but like now I find myself watching, you know, She Knows Arsenal a little bit more, because I feel like it's less controversial. It's more based on logic and, you know, clear, sound minds, not like emotion. So I definitely find your show.
I try to stay a little bit relaxed. You know, there's a lot of things to be up in arms about, but yeah, I just try to be as calm as possible. Like being an Arsenal fan can be really stressful. I know you probably don't really have that stress because, you know, Chelsea is money bags out here, you know, just all these players and stuff. But it's stressful being an Arsenal fan. But I just try to be that voice that can like calm you down just a little bit. It's gonna be fine, guys. I promise.
Okay. So obviously, you know, your show has done amazingly well. Can you talk about this deal with Blue Wire, like how that came about? You know, we have a lot of people that listen to our show that are in the industry in terms of entertainment, whether it's audio, video, looking to grow their brand, looking to do partnerships. I'm kind of upset, you know, we try to get you a 2 Cents Sports. We're not trying to tamper, but maybe offline we could talk. But definitely want to know how this Blue Wire deal came about, and if you could talk about it, definitely want to, you know, intrigued.
Well, one thing I do, I'll start from just basically the beginning, is I have a list. My friend Io told me to do this, so shout out to Io, but he told me to write 300 things that I wanted to happen in my life. And it's difficult. Once you get to like 75, you start to just kind of feel like, okay, this is too much. One of the things that I wrote down is I wanted there to be a company that acquires my podcast and helps me get sponsorships and helps my podcast grow. And that happened with Blue Wire. But that also came with the connections that I talked about earlier. Elliott Smith from the Arsenal Vision podcast really helped me out with that. And I would say that was the main thing. I had a meeting with them. They were interested in working with me and acquiring my podcast and helping it grow. And they really took a chance on me because at the time I'm not as big as some of the podcasts that are on there. Some of the podcasts that are on there have they're really, really big, and a lot of them are mostly audio. So I'm actually quite different to the podcasts that they have because I'm mostly video. But they took a chance on me because, I'm different. And Elliot really wasn't very pushy. He was really you need to get on this early. So basically they helped me with the quality of my podcast. They help you get sponsorships. And it's also it's a community aspect of it as well, where you have other podcasts, other sports podcasts that you can piggyback off of, have more connections, try to bring them on your podcast, and just have a community of people that have been there and done that. And you can kind of take what they can give you from that, so it's still in the beginning phases. So I'm not going to say I signed with them and then all of a sudden I still have to do more work. But what it has given me is a platform to really grow if I'm willing to do the work. And again, I just keep reiterating that because anybody who's watching this that's I want to do this, it's so much more work than just getting in front of the camera. It's true. There's so much more after and before that you have to do. So I just want to keep bringing that back in, that there's still work to do. But being with Blue Wire is really nice because mostly for me, it's the community aspect of it. And then being able to upgrade the quality of my podcast. And they even give you hints and stuff from the community on how to just get more viewers, how to get more listeners, how to just upgrade things. And that's really, really good for a newbie like me because it's less than a year since I've been doing this. So I don't claim to know everything.
No, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the amount of work that goes into a show. So shout out to El because he handles the pre and post. I have a couple other podcasts. I didn't even know you had to have a script for a show until I connected with him.
A lot of work. It's good work if if you're into what you're talking about, but people think it's just about getting up there and talking. It's so not. You have to do research and then it's get clips from it. And, it's just different. And I do live shows. So it's a little bit you just kind of go out there and just make it work. But for people that pre-record and stuff like you guys are doing, it is difficult because you have to go back and edit and do all this. So it's a lot of work.
Also, shout out to Megan Reyes. That's homie, friend of the
show.
show.
Yeah. So me and Megan have been talking back and forth on Twitter, and I swear we're going to be friends. We've already talked about it. We're going to be friends. I've never met her before in real life. We're going to meet each other in Vegas for the first time. We have dogs that look almost identical. She just seems like such good people. And even her initiative to try to get more women and diverse women involved in sports is something I can really identify with. So yeah, shout out to Megan. And I can't wait to meet her in Vegas. Yeah. So look out for the pictures of that.
For sure.
Respect.
So you mentioned, getting into podcasting, kind of building your own media company. I saw recently, you trademarked She Knows Arsenal and stuff like that. So it looks like you're,
smart move.
You're molding an empire, so to speak. What challenges have you faced so far? Being a Black woman in soccer media specifically, since it's so rare to see. How did you overcome any challenges that you may have faced?
Well, if I'm 100% honest, I do feel like being a Black woman has really helped me just because I'm so unique that that's helped me grow quite fast. I would say one of the challenges that I have had is just controlling my emotions when it comes to negative feedback. I want that's hard. It's difficult when you have people coming at you. The more visible I become, the more negativity has kind of come in as well. And it's difficult because I feel like some people are just want to say something negative just to say it. And it does hurt my feelings because I do try to put as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to do a good job, and just to see people just say oh, this was a crap show. You don't know what you're talking about. Women should stay, in the kitchen. This is why women shouldn't talk about football. That stuff hurts. It really, really does, because you just want people to care about your opinion and just take it as that. And I would say that's another aspect of it as well, is as a woman, I almost feel like I have to almost be as least sexy as possible, if I can say that. Like, I don't want to show too much skin. I don't want to, because I want people to take me serious. And I almost feel like I shouldn't have to do that. But you know how it is. If you look a certain way, then people start taking you less serious, so it's almost like this mind game where you have to like, okay, let me make sure I don't look to this. Like, let me make sure I'm all the way covered up. And like, I almost feel like in the beginning I had to like overdo it and try to be like overly smart and make sure I knew what I was talking about, so people didn't think I was just like some bimbo. Like, and I hate to say that was so real, so between like the trolls and wanting so desperately for people to accept me for my opinion and not just want to see how I look, even like getting comments about the way I look almost makes me feel uncomfortable, even though it's like, it's fine, because it's not that I feel like people shouldn't be able to do that, but it's almost like, wow, are they only listening to me because I'm a woman and like they like the way I look, or do they care about my opinion? So sometimes I do get in my head about that. Like, do people care about my opinion? And then I almost like go overboard, trying to make sure that I sound a certain way, or I'm like, my opinion is really good, if that makes sense. So there's all these extra things that I have to kind of think about, but those have been the challenges and I'm still working through them. I just got to the point where I don't apply or reply to everybody on Twitter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if people say things that are rude, I just try to ignore it. But I'm not even going to sit here and act like, oh, I'm like this strong person and it doesn't get to me, because it does. Like, sometimes I'm just like, wow, do people just really go out of their way to try to like hurt my feelings? Like, do they not understand like I'm a person? So yeah, those are the challenges that I face like every day. Like, yeah, that's so weird. Like, I never really said that out loud, but yeah, those are some of the things that like really have been hard to deal with since I started.
Man, use that block button liberally. Like, protect your peace at all costs, for sure.
Yeah, I try to like do the mute more, because if they see that they're blocked for some reason, they're like, yeah, I got you because I blocked. It's like, oh my
that's
gosh,
true
what's happening?
It's tough, but we appreciate your honesty in that, because everyone sees it from the outside looking in. They see surface level, but they don't know like the details and how it can affect somebody. It's a tough conundrum. Like you said, and we can only just listen because I don't have to go through that like you do, where I have to worry about, oh, maybe I should wear this shirt versus that shirt versus, all right, I want to talk about this subject, and people judging you off that. It's really whack, but
it's crazy. I mean, like, even like just sidebar, like just the other day, like in the chat box, like I was looking, because obviously I do like live shows, and these guys are literally having a conversation and talking about the way I looked, and then the last comment before I blocked them and like kicked them out was, what would you do to her? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm in the middle of talking about Arsenal, and I see people in the chat box, it's like, throw you off your game a little bit, and it's just like, is this it? Is this really it? Like, So yeah, it's a struggle, but nevertheless, like, I am growing like a tougher skin, like, you know what I mean? So it's not every single day, like I'm not sitting in a corner crying, but it does like kind of throw me off my game sometimes, because I'm just like, why can't you just be here for my opinion and not like make silly comments?
That makes sense. That's real. It's tough because everyone has their own way of dealing with like that type of stuff, and it's just crazy to like to actually hear it. You see Twitter, people like have you got people that block people, you got people that have a clapback energy like KD, you got people that just but there's so many different ways to deal with it, and for you to share that, we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Hope I didn't like throw off the mood. I know it's like so serious, but I just wanted to at least be real.
This is a real podcast. It's good. We invite that. We invite that.
Okay.
So getting back to the brand that you're building, like what is your grand vision for She Knows Arsenal as a brand and a company? I know you tweeted something the other day, like, watch this space. I think you got something big coming. I don't know if you want to announce it here or not, but
I mean, it's nothing like I have something around the corner. It's just, I know what my I know what I'm working towards, and I'm putting the pieces in place to allow that to happen. Like, She Knows Arsenal is like my main thing, because obviously I love Arsenal more than anything. But I don't know if people know, like, I watch everybody. I watch almost every single Premier League game that happens. I watch the Championship. I watch, some La Liga, a lot of the Bundesliga. I watch a lot of different games, even the MLS, obviously, because I follow LAFC. So what I want to be able to do is not only talk about Arsenal, but talk about other things. And one of my strong suits is really scouting players, player profiles, and tactics. So I have my own channel that's separate from She Knows Arsenal. And one of the things I'm going to be doing soon is scouting videos, tactics, things like that. And kind of growing another channel separate to She Knows Arsenal, where it's more just about football in general, and growing that. So I hope to, even have other podcasts that I'm producing that aren't necessarily just me, but are other people's podcasts, so I have a lot of things in the works, but I know I can get it done. But it's really, She Knows Arsenal is the main thing, and that's what people mostly know me for. But my company's name is actually Jessinho Media, and that they'll have different, brands underneath it. I'm working on a podcast that's going to feature women in football. So kind of like what you guys have going, but just specifically for women and getting their stories and stuff like that. So, yeah, I have a couple different things in the works, but the whole thing is just to take over the world. I mean, essentially,
Expansion, love it.
Yeah, for sure.
We're definitely got to have you on for our Premier League, preview or whatever, so you can drop some game on us.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the new season. Like, I'm always really excited, but I'm really excited this time because I'm hoping that Arsenal are decent. Like, I just want us to be good.
So you guys will fight for Europa, probably, maybe. We'll see.
I think we're going to be good.
Real quick, favorite formation. What's your favorite formation?
Oh, so difficult. Okay, so I love a 4-3-3.
Okay. Respect.
4-3-3, but a Liverpool 4-3-3, not a Manchester City one. I like the three destroyers in midfield and fullbacks up high. That's what I prefer. And I really like the false nine. I like the way Liverpool plays. I know they're going to switch from that. I know that they're going to throw that in the bin, probably because, people have kind of found it out, but I love that. I like that so much. So that's what I would say. Just a 4-3-3, but a Liverpool one, not a Man City one, where it's more positional and very strict positional play. I really like the fullbacks up high and them more as the creators, and then very high productive wing players like Mane and Salah. I loved watching them play. Hated playing against them. Loved watching them play.
No, I love it. I'm excited to see what you build out with this this platform of formation and breaking down film. But you mentioned
supporters in us at 2Cents Sports. The black soccer media community is so small. Like, we all got to stick together and support each other. So definitely got to support her, and that's whether it don't matter what gang you with or squad you with. We all, we all we got. So we gotta stick together.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned stuff with LAFC. Can you talk a little bit more about that, like some of the work that you're doing with them?
Yeah, so I mean, the reality is Arsenal fans are everywhere. And so some of the best connections I've made are just from other Arsenal fans that have found me on like Twitter. So a guy named Jason, who is the producer of 110 Football, reached out to me, and he's an Arsenal fan, but he's also an LAFC fan and produces 110 Football, which is basically the online media portion of LAFC. So he reached out to me to do a couple of shows with them. That's what I actually was doing that earlier. And it was like pre-match and post-match shows for LAFC. And it was such a good experience just because it's something that I really want to do in the future. I really do see myself as more of an entrepreneur and content creator just in general, but I would like to do some on-air stuff with maybe some bigger production companies in the future. That's something and it also helps me with my presentation and making sure that I, enunciate and stuff like that. There's things that I had never done before, like being mic'd up and reading off of a prompter. So it was a really good experience. I did a couple of shows with them, and I had the opportunity to actually fly out to Austin to watch and do pre-match and post-match stuff for LAFC versus Austin FC. So it's very good opportunity. I mean, I can't thank Jason enough. And, it gave me another point that I can put like on my CV to say, like, I've done this before. So when I go out and try to get more jobs, and I'm also working on trying to get an agent, that as well, then I can have that on my resume.
Public service announcement.
Or guys, I'm looking for an agent if you have one, so yeah. So it was a really good experience, and I had a really good time working with them. I mean, the quality of the production was so good. I mean, it's so different than like sitting with your laptop and just talking to a screen, I mean, like high quality cameras, mics, whole crew, being able to travel. I mean, it was a dream. And for it to happen so early on in my career, just kind of validated, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. When things start to happen quite quickly, you're like, okay, this is probably what's right. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah. And it was another one of the things on my 300 things list, that I mentioned earlier, was to be able to do pre-match and post-match stuff for LAFC, and be able to travel and do it, so I had got to knock that off my list as well.
Yeah, real quick, that 300 things I would want to do in my life, add that to your personal development journey if you're listening right now. I wrote that down. I think that's a game changer. And I also
it's actually from Steve Harvey as well. Like, if you just look up Steve Harvey 300 things, I think it'll come up, and he explains why you do it. I'm big into like manifestation and speaking things into existence. And if you've never tried it, you think it's hoodoo or whatever, just try it. It really does work. Like, it really does. Like, and I never thought it would, so look that up.
Oh, facts, respect. And then real quick, how do you rank Austin FC Stadium? Because you had a chance to explore.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Like, it's nicer than the Bank.
Wow.
It is. It's, I mean, it's a state-of-the-art stadium. They did a really good job with it. I mean, so many like little shops and like nice eateries and stuff like that. And it's green. Green's not my favorite color, but it looked really, really nice, and it was a really nice time. And, I don't know about you guys, but being in America sometimes, and like you follow teams that are overseas, maybe sometimes you watch the MLS and you're like, oh, I don't want to watch this. Like, you know what I mean? But the MLS is getting so much better. And so I would just say, like, anybody who lives in America that follows football overseas, give the MLS a chance. It's very entertaining. There's good players, and they're really updating like the facilities, everything. So I loved it. Austin FC, that stadium, I think it's like the Q2 stadium? So
Q2
nice.
stadium. Yeah, it's not a bad seat in the stadium. It's a great stadium.
I loved it.
Yeah, I need to tap in.
Yeah. So, Elle, I know you had a question about. I'm familiar with the sororities.
So you guys can't see it, but if you watch Jess's show, you will notice in the background she has a Delta Sigma Theta sign. And if you're not familiar with Delta Sigma Theta, they are historically Black Greek organization, part of the Divine Nine. And so you being a member of the Divine, what are some things we can do as
well? I'm not. So that's what I was going to tell you guys. I'm actually not. So I hate to say this, but I never got a chance to pledge. So this is actually my mom's. My mom is a Delta. Yeah, my mom is a Delta, and she's a huge Delta. And it's one of the things that I have to say that I wish I had done.
You can still do it, right? Though you can.
I can, but I'm at the point now where I know what it would take for me to have to do it, and I have to set aside a lot of time. And right now I'm really focused on my career. My mom is a huge Delta, and the chapter was actually suspended when I was at Georgia State, but I still could have done it my senior year, and I didn't. Sidebar, you guys, I didn't have good enough grades. So again, I told you guys I'm not a bookworm. I was never the one, I didn't study, but I have to say that one thing was missing out on something because you didn't study and you kind of just effed it off. That's something I do regret, but that's actually my mom's. So I'm actually at my parents' house right now. So another thing that you guys don't know about me. So everybody that's like, whose office is this? Why are you here? So when the pandemic hit, I have a property that's in Inglewood. That's where I actually live. And when the pandemic hit, I rent out the front and I live in the back. And
Smart.
when the pandemic hit, they had the rent freeze. So my tenants up front stopped paying me. So I went through almost a year without getting rent. And that was like a huge part of my income. So I ended up having to move out of my home and rent that out and do Airbnb. So my house is actually being Airbnb'd, and it's been booked for a year. It's been booked every month for a year. So I've actually just been stacking like this entire time. So I'm actually looking out to move out soon, because now that my podcast is doing well and stuff, I'm like, cool. But I've actually been staying at home. And that's why I was telling you guys, like, it's been rough. It's been rough. Like, I've had some real up and down moments with, quitting my job at the airline, starting my own business, the pandemic hitting, having a new business, but knowing it's not the right thing, starting my podcast, and now it's taking off, and being in a position where I can move back into my house, feeling comfortable. But after going through all that time, I'm like, I feel good about myself. Whereas, like, if you had probably interviewed me, which you wouldn't have, because I would have been doing this maybe like 2 years ago, you'd see a totally different person. So that's actually my mom's, and so my mom is a Delta. I wish I would have done it. Are you a part of the Divine Nine or no?
No, my wife's, her whole side of the family is all Deltas and Kappas.
My dad's a Kappa as well.
I would have pledged Alpha, but in college I had to work, so I had to go get a job. I had to pay rent. So I didn't have the full cushy.
Do you wish you had done it? Like, is it something you regret a little bit?
I still think about it to this day, and I've considered, pledging grad chapter, but like it's a time commitment that I don't necessarily have at the moment. Shout out to Yogi. Yogi is a from Can I Kick It? He's on the 2Cents Sports Network. He's an alpha. He's always telling me, "El, you ever thought about pledging?" Blah, blah, blah. So shout out to Yogi for keep continuing to drop it in my ear. But
there's tons of benefits to it, and I do have that bit of like, yeah, I wish I had done it, but like, it was because I wasn't doing the right things, So again, my story is all about bumps in the road. I've had tons of them, but I would say anybody who wants to do it if you can, because my mom is very active, and I know it gives her something that I wish I had, like that sisterhood, the community aspect of it. They do such good things for the community. And so, I mean, I can't advocate from my own experience, but just watching my mom since I was born be a part of the sorority has been a very good experience. And my dad as well, as a Kappa, he's very active as well.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're not members of the Divine Nine, but how dope would it be to bring that vibe and those black college vibes, to American soccer? Like, there's so many parallels that I think could be super dope. Just the way that games are, and then kind of bringing in that black culture, that HBCU culture into games, I think can be a super dope kind of gateway to get people into the sport. And so I have like a little theoretical like exercise around that, right? So based on colors, which Divine Nine team or which Divine Nine organization would support which team in MLS or NWSL?
Oh, okay. Let's see. So we're doing only MLS
or NWSL. It doesn't.
Right.
Either one.
Let's say that maybe the Atlanta United, I would say maybe Kappas. Give them maybe that. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
It's so difficult to say,
I didn't pledge, so you guys are helping me out too.
I'm trying to think, because I'm like almost thinking like maybe from a color aspect that would work.
Yeah. So I would give LAFC the Alphas, black and gold.
You give black and gold.
That's easy.
Orlando purple, so maybe Omegas, right? Yeah. Blue. What are the blue teams? I don't even know what the blue teams are in the MLS now.
Like KC, you got Sporting KC.
SKC, got New York NYCFC.
So yeah, I would say KC.
Cincinnati as well.
Yeah, so if they do it from a color aspect, but I don't know if the city really adds up. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking like, wouldn't the city make sense too? But I guess if you're saying Alphas plus LAFC, that sounds like a really good idea. That actually sounds right. And then if you do like Kappas and Deltas with Atlanta, that sounds right. That makes sense. So if I could add those up, that would probably make the most sense to me. That's a really interesting idea, getting the culture of an HBCU and kind of like intertwining it with American soccer. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I wish people would get more involved with it. I know it's not the level that we're used to when you watch your Arsenals and your Chelseas, but for somebody that used to be such a big soccer snob, like I really enjoy watching the MLS. I really, really do. It's because there's such good young talent there, and a lot of the people that you're watching in that league will end up, in the English Premier League and stuff, so yeah.
That's true.
Do you guys watch the MLS? Do you?
I'm a fan.
I'm a soccer head, so I watch
Okay, good. Okay, good. Just making sure.
I'm an Atlanta United supporter.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
I've been having a rough year between Arsenal and Atlanta United.
It's bad when all of your teams are doing bad at like the same time. Usually, LAFC was way better last season, and now they're not doing as good. So then you go through Arsenal coming in 8th to LAFC bombing. So now I don't know what to do. But now they have an NWSL team coming to LA called Angel City. So hopefully they're good, because I need some team doing well.
Angel City and AKA tying in the pink.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, good shot.
Bunch of ski-wees when they score a goal.
Yeah.
You guys a couple rapid fire questions?
Yeah, Jessica, real quick, because you brought up some points before we get into our next segment. Big Arsenal fan.
Yes.
I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I do acknowledge like all they've done for the culture, and I do think they got robbed against Barcelona back in Champions League when Henry was supposed to get that. If you had an Arsenal 5-a-side squad, who are you picking?
Oh my gosh, this is so difficult. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Arsenal 5-a-side. Okay. Let's say, let me just write it down real quick. I know Henry, Alexis.
Oh, okay.
Cesc. Let's do Sol and so difficult. Sol and Cole, maybe. No goalkeeper.
No, that's 5-a-side. You don't need a goal.
Yeah, no goalkeeper. So Sol,
okay,
Campbell, and Cole, Cesc, Henry, and Alexis, I think.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, without having to really.
Because your favorite player is Perez. So
but
crazy.
The reason why is because I just think Alexis would be devastating in a 5-a-side. I just think he'd be devastating. Prime Alexis, not the Alexis that we see now. And you have to choose Henry for obvious reasons. Cesc is, you could pick Ozil, but if you have the choice between Ozil and Cesc, you always pick Cesc, right? Yeah. And then Cole, because he's a very two-way player, he can also add a little bit of defense. And Sol Campbell is Sol Campbell.
You picked Chelsea legend Cole.
I picked, Ashley Cole that came from our academy. That's who I chose. Ashley.
All right, and you mentioned your passion with fashion. All right, favorite fashion football partnership.
Oh, it's got to be the last PSG kit that came out in collaboration with Jordan, I believe. The kits that they come out with are crazy. You guys have seen the newest PSG ones? Kit. Yeah. Take all my money. But I would say, I really did like I would say that's my favorite one, because you never would have thought like you would like purple and pink together. But I thought once they had them on, that kit was so nice. That collaboration was really, really nice. And I have to say, all of PSG stuff is really, really cute. Like they even like last season, I thought that they wore like these white puffy jackets that they wore like when they were coming to the pitch. And I saw Kurzawa, he had his on, and he had like that clear Louis Vuitton, like the one with the metallic one for like his stuff that he had, like almost like a purse. I was like, that is so nice. Like their stuff is so nice, but it makes sense because obviously like they're in Paris, so they have to have the nicest stuff. But I would say the collaboration with Jordan, that kit was, it was so nice.
They do a great job of making gear and merch that you can wear like outside the pitch. So I think
but I think a lot of people are doing that now. They're doing that now. I mean, if you look at the way that the kits have changed in the last couple of years, you can tell that they want merch to be more accessible to people that don't really follow the teams as much. I would like to say that Arsenal, we tend to have really nice kits. Maybe Chelsea can get better at that. We're definitely winning. We're the fashion club. We do win that battle. Let us have something. We do have nice
every
kits.
Season, but
and then last question. This is a little random, but you said you were a flight attendant. This is me just being curious. So is it good or not good to eat ice on a flight? Because I heard that was like not good. And then secondly, I don't know what airline you worked for, if it was like one throughout your whole 5-year career with as a flight attendant. Favorite airline?
I mean, I think it's fine. I worked for Delta, and I would say Delta is the best airline. Delta is the best. It just is. If you live in Atlanta, you know that Atlanta's it's everywhere in Atlanta. So, and I would say maybe stay away from the ice. The coffee, it's just not my favorite. You know what I mean? So maybe just bring your own water and stuff.
Wait, so what's this ice thing? I'm not.
I mean, I don't really like it just because we have the little scoop and we're scooping it, and it's just it's just not my favorite. You know what I mean? It's not like getting it out of a machine where you take your cup and you do that. Like we're literally like scooping it, and it's just not my favorite, So I would just say
it's a little exposed.
No. Yeah, I would say that's the good word. It's exposed to the elements. So maybe not so much. Actually, I actually like being on planes. I know that's weird. Some people don't like flying. I actually enjoy like the whole process of traveling, from getting to the airport to getting on the plane and all that. I think I'm weird.
That's the most stressful thing for me.
I don't know why people are so stressed out.
I think the most stressful thing is getting to and through security. And then
if you follow the rules, it's not stressful.
Then getting to your flight. So I got pre-check now. So like it's a little smoother.
Big baller.
But like trying to travel with kids is another headache at the same time. So
no, I understand that. I definitely understand that. I guess I just love it. Like I love it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weird, but I like it. I've always loved being on planes and stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, that's all I got. So El, let's hit it with the no car, yellow car, red car.
Let's go ahead and jump into no car, yellow car, red car. So this is a rapid fire segment of the show where I'll read off some news headlines. It can be pop culture, business, sports, soccer, whatever. But we'll give our opinion on those headlines using the soccer card system. So no card is, I'm cool with it, I agree with it. Yellow card is I can go either way. And red card is I disagree or I'm not cool with it. And you give a little explanation of why you gave it that card. So we have 2 this week. They're both soccer related, so it's easy. Like I'm always trying to add another one. All right, but first up. So you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. First up. As MLS preps their 3rd division league, USL is planning sweeping changes to its structure, including an internal pro rel between the pro leagues and a switch to the European calendar. So what card are we giving USL for these league changes?
Yellow? I mean, it is what it is, right? They want to change things around. I mean, I think going to the European schedule feels right because it's weird having your schedule different than everybody else's, then everything can kind of align. Like now, even if you think of like stuff like, and this is just kind of annoys me just a little bit, the transfer window, You know what I mean? It's at different times. So if you want to recruit players from, you know, the leagues over here, it's a little bit more difficult because the transfer windows don't align. So I would say I could go either way. It is what it is. You know, if they want to change it, it is what it is. You know, do you guys have a problem with it or?
I'm going I'm going yellow card.
What do you think?
I'm going yellow card. I think it came out of nowhere. I know they've been talking about pro rel, so I don't really have a problem with that as long as the ownership groups are ready to commit to whether they go up or down. And
I don't think they'll do that though. Yeah. I can't see it. You buy in to this this type of system to not have that as an option. I just don't. Luckily, has it gone through? Is it real? Like, is it really happening?
They're proposing it. Luckily for USL owners, it's not as hefty as a investment. I mean, it's still hefty. It's like if we're talking numbers, but yeah, like you said, I can't imagine going from a championship to a League One and expecting the same sort of revenue or, you know, profit or whatever they use their metrics as from the European schedule calendar. I mean, you're gonna have to deal with winter. So if they're ready to do that, I mean, I think games might get canceled for snowstorms and different things like that. Like trying to play in December in Pittsburgh, good luck. But we'll see.
And I think another thing.
I can't see them doing it. I can't. Not the going up and going down.
Yeah.
Another thing with the calendar is in Europe, you're not competing with NFL, NBA, college football, all the other things that are like deep in their schedules, you know, during this time. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of get around that, you know.
Yeah. Probably a lot of Thursday games and stuff.
Yeah.
Midweek Tuesday games and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. So, last one. The U.S. women's national team lost 3-0 in the Olympics, their first Olympic game. Players looked tired and sluggish. There was already controversy about the team that was selected to go to the Olympics. So what card are we giving Vlatko for his overall team selection for the Olympics?
What? Like, okay. No card. No card. Like, what are they talking about? There's no controversy in the team that he chose because it's essentially the same team that Joe Ellis had, bar like one or two players that really didn't play. So I'm having a hard time accepting that as a good answer or a good reason. Look, this team never does well after they win the World Cup. The Olympics, right after the World Cup that they win, they never do well. I think there's just something about having to get back up to that level of intensity again that this team just can't do. It's just a normal thing. I was really, really disappointed in the performance. I've actually never seen them play that bad. But what I do know about this team is that they will galvanize and come back. Maybe the preparations that Vlatko did are different than Jill. You know, this is their first big tournament without Jill, you know, so maybe there's something that he's doing different that didn't give them what they needed in order to get up for the game. But to say it's because of the people that he chose is strange because it's the same team. It's literally the same team, you guys. So no, I would say no card. I would just say that he has a lot of work to do. And we'll see what happens, but it's not about the teams. It's not. Unless there's like a specific player that they're talking about, but it's the same team.
Yeah. To that point, I'm going to say yellow card. And, you know, basically because of what you said, like after World Cups, they don't do well. So maybe you might need to shake up a little bit, like get some people that haven't been part of the squad to like have that hunger. And to be fair, you shouldn't have to like force hunger at an international tournament. But this team has played a lot. They know each other. So sometimes you need like some new blood to mix it up. And that's not to blame the new coach because sometimes he wants that continuity. But, you know, so I'll give a yellow card. But
well, the one thing I can say is that the girls that were brought into camp, although talented, didn't actually do enough, in my opinion, to like dethrone the people that are already in those spots. I think maybe the right back spot was up for grabs. I think Kelly O'Hara might be, she's pretty much at the end of her career. I don't necessarily feel like Mitch Purse or I think she was the main one. I don't really think she really did enough, like, you know what I mean? So fresh blood, I can understand that, but this team is so good that if you're not really coming out there swinging, and that roster is very small, that I can't really say that he chose the wrong people. But maybe it is just, oh, I'm sorry, my dog is like barking. But yeah, I don't really know. But I hope they do better. I mean, I stayed up for that game. Very disappointing. I did, but Sweden is also like our Achilles heel.
Squad too.
Yeah, and I mean, people say like, okay, well, Brazil, they won like 5-0 or 4-0 or whatever, but they played China. I think Great Britain played Chile. I mean, we couldn't have gotten a harder team to play right off the bat. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think anybody that came into camp did enough.
Yeah,
that's my only.
Like my dad says, if it's even, you're leaving it up to chance. Sometimes you got to beat them out properly. So.
Yeah, they really do. But I think this is the end of the road for a lot of these girls. To be honest, this is like their last go round. So we'll see those new faces come in. I'm sorry, my dog is losing.
No, you're good.
I believe that's something I said on like a past show. Is this is probably that last hurrah for a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, depending on Alex, if she wants to just kind of take a break, Tobin Heath, there's Kelly O'Hara, Sauerbrunn, like that's like the whole team, so, but the one thing I can say is that the new girls that are coming into the fold, although I don't think they did enough to be a part of the squad, what I'm excited about is that a lot of them are Black. So that's a different look to this team that I haven't seen in the past. Like back in the day, it would be like one, like Brianna Scurry, maybe one. The team, there's a lot more Black girls involved in the team. And that's exciting for me because, again, I like to see people that look like me playing the sport that I love.
No, that's what it's all about. So that's our show for this week. Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. For people that want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. I love banter. I love to have fun. Please don't take me serious on Twitter. I'm so unserious there. So you can follow me there, or you can, go onto YouTube, just type in She Knows Arsenal and I will pop up. Those are the main places where you can find me. So, yeah.
So we're going to have all that in the show notes. Make sure you check out Jessica. What a wonderful podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us get discovered. Follow us on all the socials at 2Cents FC. Check out our merch at 2centsports.shop. It helps support the show so we continue to have wonderful guests like Jessica on. And tweet us your comments on the show and any topics you want me or Elle to discuss. Once again, 2Cents FC, the only show where you get unfiltered thoughts and opinions. I think we got an exclusive today. So thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that.
I talked about a lot of things that I haven't talked about before. So awesome. Thank you.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. Facts.
Until next week, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, wait.